Let's talk about Smackdown. There's been a lot of talk about the brand in the past couple of weeks. Public perception has been that the quality of Smackdown has been getting lower and lower each week, and many people say it's lazy booking, whether it be the constant six-man or six-woman tag team matches, I should say, with Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Charlotte versus the Riot Squad, which seemingly seems like every week. You've got also an emphasis on the authority figures with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. When the brand first started, they were hyping up how it wasn't going to be about the authority figures. It just seems like everything is going backwards with this brand. Do you agree that the quality of the brand has been going down? And if so, what do you think it needs to take to fix the brand up, especially with now that we're getting dual branded pay-per-views after WrestleMania?
I mean, what a difference a year makes. You go back to this time a year ago when SmackDown was at its peak. I mean, SmackDown was firing on all cylinders in those final few months of 2016, going into 2017. Really, I looked it up yesterday, and a lot of people would blame Road Dogg for being the creative writer as the reason why SmackDown has gone down the tubes. I looked it up yesterday. He was appointed one of the head writers of SmackDown just about a year ago, right after the Rumble, right around the Rumble time. And SmackDown was still pretty good going into WrestleMania. It was really after the Superstar shakeup that the show went down the tubes. We had the Jinder Mahal title reign. And even though he's dropped the title, he has not been champion for like 3.5 months at this point. The overall direction of the show has just felt lifeless. Yeah. It's been in a rut for a while now, and it was decent before. Now it's just completely pointless. The whole multi-man match thing, and Raw does it too, but SmackDown even more so, with the women especially. It's so annoying because no one gets over. Yeah. It's all multi-women this, multi-man that, with the main event scene, the tag team scene, the women's scene. You shove everyone into one match, no one gets over. It just doesn't work. I don't know what they really need to do to get back to that point. And SmackDown is by no means damaged goods. I mean, you look at 205 Live, a show that nobody cared about, but the crowds aren't going wild for nowadays, but that's merely because it's taped after SmackDown. Though, the matches on the show are far better than they were before because Triple H took over, reportedly, so that's the reason for that. With SmackDown, I don't know if it's a change in control of whoever writes the show, or just getting fresh faces on the show, bringing in a guy like Seth Rollins, or splitting up Owens and Zayn, or bringing over Balor to the show. God knows that guy needs the move over to SmackDown right now. So, I don't know. I'm just waiting for WrestleMania to be over with. I'm looking forward to AJ and Nakamura, but it seems like we won't get back to normal one-on-one feuds until after WrestleMania is over. They switch up a few people in the draft. As far as the dual brands, the dual branded pay-per-views go, not a big fan of it whatsoever, especially if the pay-per-views won't be 4 hours, which they shouldn't be anyway because that's overkill. Yeah. The mid-card won't really get a chance to shine on these 3-hour pay-per-views if it's both Raw and SmackDown. But even then, though, at least we get less pay-per-views. We haven't had a great SmackDown pay-per-view in close to a year since Elimination Chamber 2017, in my opinion. Clash of Champions was whatever. Hell in the Cell was Battleground was atrocious. So maybe it's for the best that we're moving back to dual branded pay-per-views so we get the top talent from each show carrying these pay-per-views. I'm not completely faithful they'll do right by these shows, but SmackDown, something needs to change because people just it's fallen off a cliff. People have just given up on the show in recent weeks.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was concerned about when Road Dogg did take over, I remember a tweet that he put out and said, essentially he said that wins and losses don't really matter. And that really kind of, is especially surprising because, the lineage that he comes from, the Armstrong family, if you were to tell Bullet Bob Armstrong back in the day that wins and losses don't matter, I don't think he would take that very, very well. And just the way he books stuff, especially after the Jinder Mahal stuff. Like, I understand you want to push a new star. You want to try and get him to be, you want to try and create some new star power. But the stuff that they've had Jinder do after the WWE Championship, it's kind of surprising that they haven't really capitalized on it and try to do something. They put him into that into contention for the U.S. title, but since then his character has really been dead. I find. I think that again, I'm not the biggest Jinder Mahal fan, but if you're going to push somebody and you've given this guy the title for at least 6 months, and then afterwards when he drops it, he doesn't really have much to do afterwards, it's kind of astonishing to me.
Yeah, it brings back bad memories of SmackDown in like 2010. Another point where SmackDown was just in the trash. When you had Big Show and Jack Swagger main events, good God, I would not want to go back to that time in SmackDown's history. And then soon after, a lot like Jinder Mahal, after Jack Swagger dropped the belt and they had their time with the shiny new toy and Jack Swagger, he went back to being a mid-card guy. Like nothing ever happened. Like you would literally never assume that Jinder was ever WWE champion based off of how they're booking him right now. I mean, granted, he's in a better spot now than he was a year ago when he was losing Enzo Amore on Raw as a jobber over on that show. But still, I mean, he should have never been in that spot to begin with, like you said. But it really is amazing how they just go from pushing someone so strongly to literally giving up on him overnight. And the guys, I do not find him to be good at all, but they should give him more of a chance. Just that being said, just there's no consistency, really, just in the general sense. Like you said, Road Dogg has said himself that wins and losses don't matter, which blows my mind. And that's exactly why SmackDown is in as bad of a state as it is right now, because when SmackDown first started, SmackDown Live, I should say, back in 2016, it truly did feel like wins and losses mattered. When AJ Styles beat John Cena at SummerSlam, he was immediately in contention for the WWE title because wins and losses mattered. Whenever someone wins a big match in the show, you forget about it by the next week because they go back to 50-50 booking. It happens with the women all the time. The Riot Squad cannot win a match to save their lives, and now they finally win a match on Tuesday, and Ruby Riott is just inserted in the title picture for no reason. And I like Ruby Riott, but it's like there's no consistency whatsoever. They cannot devote any real time to one person to get that person over, which is why no one means anything. No one means anything at all. Like Dolph Ziggler is a prime example of a guy where they give a big win to him every once and again, but overall, the guy's a loser. Baron Corbin, the guy's a loser. They just do not invest in anyone. And the overall booking of the show just screams pure laziness to me.
Yeah, and I agree. And the one thing that as well that really exemplifies the laziness in the booking for me is this top 10 list that they've released. There's nothing really to it other than these are the top 10 wrestlers. Like they've included the tag teams, the women, and of course the male wrestlers. And they've incorporated this, and there hasn't really been that much in terms of creating storylines out of it, saying, hey, I want that number one spot. I'm going to challenge you to become the number one guy or anything like that, and maybe do like a UFC power ranking sort of deal. It's just kind of there, and they keep mentioning it, but there's really not much point to this list.
Nah, the top 10 list is a total waste. I mean, it could have been something. It could have been something, because I like the idea of them doing, something with the top 10 list to determine new contenders and who's worthy. But the thing is that you can't really have full faith in a show. With SmackDown recently, that we literally just said it. If Road Dogg himself, the guy who writes these shows, not by himself, but he's obviously one of the head writers, if he himself had said that wins and losses don't matter, then what the hell is the point of a top 10 list? Like that to me makes absolutely no sense. When you have a guy like Ty Dillinger, who has not won a match since he was probably in NXT, he's number 10 just to be cute and give him the 10 spot on the top 10 list, even though he hasn't won a match in probably 6 months. Makes no sense. Why would anyone take that seriously? It's just the SmackDown booking has gotten to be so bad, it's almost comical. Yeah. It's almost comical. Not quite comical, but it's almost at that point where it's just I've almost given up on the booking with the show. And and again, it can be fixed. But currently, it's like, why even bother watching the show when you know what's going to happen? And not only that, but just nothing matters. Literally nothing matters with this show, which is what bothers me so much. And it wouldn't be so bad if SmackDown wasn't so good, a year ago. And it was the best show to watch in all of WWE, even better than NXT most weeks. But it hasn't been that way for a while. And it's going to take some major rehabbing coming out of WrestleMania to fix that.
Yeah, and one of the things that people are saying should be one of the fixes is this Fire Road Dogg thing that's been going on. Do you think Road Dogg has to be removed from his position as head writer on SmackDown, or do you think they've just kind of like maybe do like a booking committee like they did with WCW back in the early 90s and just get a couple of writers together? What's your idea on how to fix SmackDown and try and get it into make it better and get it into the promised land again?
I don't know if firing Road Dogg is the answer, but something's got to change. I don't know what it is, but I know for a fact that before Road Dogg, and I'm not sure if he's still there, I believe he is. Maybe it's just his ideas aren't being heard. But when SmackDown first started, they had brought in Ryan Ward, who had wrote NXT for a long time, which is why NXT for a while there was kind of in a weird holding pattern in late 2016, early 2017 before they find that magic again. But Ryan Ward was the one writing those shows for SmackDown coming out of the brand split. And NXT booking kind of carried over into SmackDown where wins and losses mattered. I mean, what a concept. But SmackDown kind of followed that same pattern as NXT where things mattered, things made sense. There was long-term storytelling. Things were advertised a week out that made sense, that weren't, scrapped at the last minute. Save for a few storylines, people like James Ellsworth, which served no purpose for the most part. But beyond that, SmackDown would do a lot of things that made sense and that were entertaining, a lot like NXT would for a while and still does to this day. When Road Dogg took over, they completely changed their approach to how they booked the shows because you could just look at a show from now compared to a year and a half ago, and it's a totally different show. It's like it's not even close. So you could tell that someone different is booking the shows, that being Road Dogg. I don't know. I don't know if they need to replace Road Dogg or bring someone else in, or I don't know if Ryan Ward is still there or give him back the head control. I mean, I would say Triple H because obviously he's done wonders for NXT and 205 Live, but that might not happen for a while to come. But just bottom line, something's got to change. And the change starts at the top. So maybe firing Road Dogg or demoting him or putting him on Raw or something along those lines might be for the best. It's worth trying because right now SmackDown cannot get any more pointless than it is right now.
Yeah, and I think too, I don't think they're going to fire Road Dogg per se, but I think they're going to remove him from his position as head writer and probably put him somewhere else in the company. But one of the things as well, the final infuriating thing that I want to talk about, no Rusev in the past 2 weeks, probably one of the more over guys the past couple of months with the whole Rusev Day shtick. It's just kind of shocking to me that you don't want to capitalize on that, especially when your TV is being criticized for not being entertaining, being lackluster, and you've got this guy who is over. He's got a great thing going. His T-shirts are selling. He's selling Rusev Day calendars, the whole 9 yards, and you don't have him on TV for a second straight week.
How do you not have Rusev on SmackDown on Rusev Day? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. For 2 straight weeks, you do not feature Rusev on the show on Rusev Day. It's ass-backwards booking. But nonetheless, yeah, the guy is very entertaining at the peak of his popularity right now, and he's far from the only one. There's a lot of guys that, if they're not involved in a storyline, they're not on TV. Like Shinsuke Nakamura. Didn't that guy just win the Royal Rumble? And I know they did a video package on him on Tuesday night. Yeah. That's fine. But it's like, the guy wasn't even on the show last week. You would have even completely forgotten that the guy won the Royal Rumble they had not shown the video package for him this week. Will he even be at the pay-per-view? Like, they could very easily book a Nakamura, Nakamura Rusev feud, excuse me. Yeah. A filler feud for Rusev going into, or Nakamura going into the pay-per-view. But they have, 1-2 weeks to book that at this point? So, again, they have 2 hours. I'm not saying SmackDown should be 3 hours. They have a very large depth of talent over on SmackDown. Not everyone's going to be on the show, but a backstage segment, a vignette for someone like a Rusev goes a long way in allowing them to maintain the momentum. Because if they're not on TV, out of sight, out of mind, people will just stop caring after a while. Maybe not with Rusev because people love the guy right now, but I don't know. Just again, it goes to just show that it doesn't matter how over you are. If you're not booked by the company, if you're not one of their guys, they don't care. So it's unfortunate. It's a sad story, but it seems like that's the case with Rusev, and they won't capitalize off the popularity that has right now with Rusev Day.